Hi everybody, this is Miss Marcel and I am here to tell you about what's going on in the art room this week. So we're going to start out with advanced art. We just started our ceramics unit, and so this week is exploration of hand building and slab construction, and then next week we'll move into glazing. So for our first hand building, I really wanted them to learn about pinch pots and just some basic construction of scoring and slipping. So their goal was to create 4 pinch pots that would then stack upon each other to make these koi fish. So right now they're in the back of the room drying, and then students will be glazing these and stringing them up next week. So they learned basic pinch pot method and then scoring and slipping on the fins and the eyes and mouth. Then today our unit was on slab construction, and we were making slab containers for plant pots. And so they made these cylinders out of slab, and then they had to add on parts to it so that it became humanistic. And so they could put arms on it, legs on it, a face, whatever it might be. And some of their creations are really, really amazing. And then we will be adding plants to them, or they're going to use them as containers for their pencils or paintbrushes or things like that. And then moving on to creating like the masters, students were finishing up their name tags and turning those in at the start of this week. They had grade slips that they were filling out, referencing the artist that we looked at, which was Jasper Johns, attaching their rough drafts to it, and then their final product, and making sure that they completed those. And then we started talking about Vasily Kandinsky, an abstract artist from Russia, and we filled out our papers that are in their Get to Know the Artist packets. So we learned all about the artist. And then yesterday's class, we had a really fun time with drawing to our senses. So we listened to some music, and we were drawing to music. And so we listened to a song that Vasily Kandinsky also had listened to while he painted, and then they were using Crayola markers and paintbrushes with watercolor. The other part that we did was drawing to smell, and so I gave them a cotton ball that had some essential oils on it, and they were smelling that and trying to decipher what lines or shapes and colors that they could use for that. And then last was taste, and we had some dark chocolate and some wasabi crackers and fruit snacks and things like that that had different flavors and textures, and they were drawing to taste. We're going to take all 3 of these, and we're going to end up doing a large oil pastel abstract piece next class, and it will follow through into next week as well. And so they're going to be using color and lines and shapes and then blending them with the oil pastels. We'll learn a bunch of different oil pastel techniques as well. 6th grade, they were finishing up their name tags. So they have their lovely name tags that they were coloring in using letters that started with the pictures that started with the same letters of their name. They have their project planners where they mapped out their entire project, and they also put in their feedback from their peers, and then they have a grade slip as well that they're filling out and explaining their feedback that they got and how they used their feedback or didn't use that feedback and why. And then at the end of last class, we started to watch a video on the elements of art because I want everyone to have the same basis of information about the elements. We will continue that today and tomorrow. There's a couple more words of vocabulary that we need to get through. And then from there, we're going to start working on our sketchbook notes. And so inside our notebooks, we will be dedicating 1 page to each vocabulary word. These are also listed on the website, but students will be able to get the word, the definition, and we'll do some examples below. So every student will have this in their sketchbooks, and they'll be able to know exactly what these words mean. That will help further them when we start our Elements of Art booklets next week, and it will also guide them in all their following projects. So they'll have that as a reference. And then 7th grade for creating comics, we also finished up our name tags, and so students were doing a Roy Lichtenstein style name tag with Ben-Day dots and these primary colors. And so there was this very comic book style name tag. They painted these and then outlined them with black to really make them pop and stand out. They also had a project planner where they sketched out their rough draft ideas. We also did a bit of the history about who Roy Lichtenstein was, and then going over the color wheel and the primary colors. Students then needed to fill out this and give me how their artwork connected to Roy Lichtenstein's artwork. So we looked at his art pieces, and then they had created their art piece, and there had to be these similarities and crossovers, and so they had to make that connection of how are those similar. Towards the end of last class, we also worked on our collage covers for our sketchbooks. These are going to help guide us when we start taking our notes and doing our drawings for our comics and planning out our storyline, and also recording vocabulary. So I gave students a big bin full of old comic books, and they were cutting up and adding them. They needed to cover this 100%. They needed to incorporate a background and then some images over the top, so not just one picture glued down. They also need to incorporate their names somewhere so that we can identify whose is whose. And then we went over this packet. They didn't necessarily start the packet, but we went through page by page because it's a lot of information. And it's a brainstorming packet to allow students to start figuring out who their comic book character is going to be, what type of personality traits will they have, what will they look like, so that they can get an idea of where they want, what direction they want to go through with their comic. We're going to work on this today and tomorrow, and then they're going to receive peer feedback so that they can really hone in of what their comic book character is going to be. And then from there, we will be able to solidify all that information, and students can then start to really sketch out and figure out who their character is. And so the first project will essentially be designing their character and putting it onto a comic book cover. And so having the name and title of their character, a bit of a background, and then probably like the barcode and some information about like where it's published or printed and things like that. So it looks authentic, like a real comic book cover, but first we need to kind of hone in on who the character is going to be and what will that character look like. It's been a great week. I know next week is going to be crazy with the start of winter break coming upon us, and so it will be scrambling to get things done before the break, but some things will probably also carry over after the break as well. And then we also have early release next Wednesday, and so that's going to put a bit of a glitch in our whole schedule as well. But things have been going really well. All the brand new students that I have been fantastic. I've loved getting to know them these last couple of weeks, and yeah, things are going great. So if you have any questions, feel free to email me, and I hope you guys are having a good week as well. Bye. See you later.